we go. Here we go. Welcome to Game Beyond the Game presents Talk That Talk, your 21-day transition. I am your host, Dan Pearson II. I'd like to navigate this conversation as we talk with those that help us prefer and drive and love our game beyond the game and learn more about it. I am here with founder of Game Beyond the Game, Prince Daniels Jr. Prince, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you for asking. Thank you for being here, you guys. I'm blessed, and I just want to say I'm excited to hear you guys' story, to hear how you guys can share your wisdom with other people that are in need of knowledge, and also love in their relationship, because we all need it. We're all looking to grow, and we need that nurturing. So we're here to help athletes one story at a time to make sure that they can all make a difference in the world by inspiring them to be great and help them aspire to greatness. So thank you guys for being here.
Awesome.
Thank
So
you for having us.
heck yeah. So let me officially introduce you two amazing people. Up to this point, we've not been fortunate enough to have a couple, but here we go. I want to introduce you all, Gerris and Shakira Wilkinson. Gerris is a former NFL linebacker. He was drafted by the New York Giants, later going on to win a Super Bowl. Yeah, he did that. He received his MBA. Oh, a brain as well. All right. Doing it ain't bragging. From University of San Francisco, and his partner and asset manager for 11 West Partners, a real estate investment firm managing and negotiating multi-million-dollar contracts and the use of commercial and industrial office space. He will be joined today by his more important, incredible wife, Shakira, as they both sit down and talk about the balances of marriages and marriage and family life. Both of y'all, how are you doing today? How are you feeling?
Feeling good. Feeling great.
Feeling good, feeling great. I feel good.
Feeling great, feeling good. How are you?
That's good. So, heck, let's hop right into this. I know we're going to have a great conversation, some questions. Marriage. What is that like? What, for so many people, they sometimes misunderstand marriage, don't know what it should be, right? But what is marriage for you all? What does it mean?
You want to start? Or you want me to go?
You know it.
Well, for me, I think what's most important is just having a healthy partnership. So before I got married, I used to just always say, like, I want to be with someone who is my friend, someone that I can have a friendship with, but have sex with them. You know, it was almost like I want to be able to have what I have with one of my girlfriends, where I'm just able to be completely open, able to have conversations, able to be my goofy self around them without worrying about like judgment or anything, and get to have good sex with that person. So
that's the best cat.
Yeah.
Super cool. And Gerris, what is your thought? What is marriage, man? Tough act to follow, but what do you got? What is marriage to you? What does it mean, I guess, as we start out the combo?
I would agree with Shakira, with what she said. I mean, I have recently been telling my wife that she's my best friend, because she is. And I think that having a friendship is having a lifelong friendship and commitment with someone. And, when you have kids, it throws a whole nother situation into the partnership.
Paradigm. Shit. Yeah.
It really tests your connection and your strength as a couple. And I think it's the times that we're in now with the coronavirus. You really have to like and love each other to make it.
You really gotta like each other.
That's awesome, Gerris. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think sometimes folks are like, no, it's love and it's magical and it's supposed to be they see on TV, but that like part, jump on both of y'all, but certainly Gerris, as you alluded to it before, how important is that like part, and how is that developed and nurtured, especially now?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to like each other when you're in the honeymoon phase and when everything is fresh and new and exciting, and when it's just you two. When you bring more life into the equation with your kids, and everybody wants their attention, everybody has their own desires and their own selfish needs and their own agendas and schedules and all of that stuff, it gets a lot more challenging. And I think you have to. One thing I think that we have tried to do recently, and what we've learned, is how to allow for scheduling time for just us. Because it's easy to get wrapped up in the everyday life of work and kids and family, but to make sure you put time in your schedule and get babysitters and get family support so that you have time to just connect with each other.
Awesome. And how about you, Shakira? So a mom, and certainly a mom of a professional athlete, what's that like? Because there's some folks that are dealing with that now or going to deal with that. Like, what helps you during this transition or, in the game beyond the game?
I think keeping things simple. Everything right now seems to be so complicated, and people they make it more complicated than it has to be. I think that if you have a solid foundation, right, so you go back to whether you like each other or not. Like, we've established, okay, yeah, we were in love, we're in love, loving each other, but having to deal with somebody day to day, and now especially during this COVID time where typically Gerris is at work during the day, and not that he hasn't been working, but he's been doing a lot more of his work at home. So you're kind of faced to deal with your partner more so now than ever before. So going back to liking that person, yeah, we've established we love each other. That's why we got married. But being with each other every day and having to we have 2 young children. Our kids are 4 and 2. So our kids count on us for everything. They're not very independent. I mean, there's certain independence, but it's not like having a teenager where they have their own social life. Like, I am my children's social life, so they don't really know anything different yet. And as far as Gerris being an athlete, that hasn't been the most important part of our life. So it was a very important part of his life prior to us getting married. And not that sports aren't important or play a role in our life. We still, watch a lot of sports. Well, we were watching a lot of sports before, the Rona. But being an athlete is, for us, something that is more so in the background.
Okay.
And I think that has probably made our life, honestly, a little easier, because I haven't had to deal with the pressures of having my husband out on the road with a bunch of other females around, or, just everything that comes into being with a professional athlete. That's not something that we're currently dealing with. And so it's been having him kind of transition out of sports, I think, has made our life essentially much easier, because we are able to concentrate more so on each other and our family, rather than, football being the biggest thing.
Yeah, the more pronounced piece. Yeah, Prince.
Right. Yeah, so would you say that, were you with Gerris when he was during his career or after his career?
After his career.
So would you say, is that a big difference in the way you guys' relationship is? Because what I've noticed, just from my observation, is that a lot of couples, they go through that roller coaster. Where the fame is there, all the power, the opportunities are there, and whenever that stops, it seems like the relationship weakens a bit, because that was the bond that kept them there. And I want to ask this question for Gerris. Like, Gerris, do you think that that played a key role in your relationship, like getting married after the game, or do you think when you were in the game you needed a partner like Shakira to make sure that she balances you out?
That's a great question. I think that I'm very familiar with the roller coaster that you speak of, and when I was transitioning out of the NFL, it was a time period where it was nice to kind of go through that transition on my own, just because it allowed me to, like, you know, kind of like take a breather. You know, like if I have former teammates that, you know, were already married with kids while they were in the NFL, and to go through the period of like, okay, you know, dad has the season, and then there's the off season, and he's always training, he's always traveling, he's always doing this, and then to go from that to just kind of like once you decide you're done, it's just like a dead stop to that lifestyle, and it's kind of hard on the whole family, you know, because it's a whole new, it's like you have to realign your whole lifestyle, and I was able to do that realignment on my own before I met Shakira, and then was able to kind of like ground myself in reality of my new lifestyle, and then, you know, I kind of like started my new life with Shakira, and you know, I think that if I had met Shakira 5 years before when I was still playing, I think we would have still been fine, but it would have been a much different transition because you know, you go from having like a dedicated focus every day to having to like refocus yourself. And, you know, I think for a lot of couples out there, it's probably just as hard on the man as it is on the woman, because it's an adjustment for everyone involved, and it can be challenging just because, you know, the athlete needs a lot of support,
right?
And the athlete is also used to having a lot of support.
Used to having fans, used to having coaches, used to having teammates, used to having
trainers.
Yeah. What'd you say, Stan?
Not just said trainers.
Trainers. Yeah, you used to having a whole support system that's based around your profession. And then when all the music stops, you know, you just have your family, and you have to like be able to redistribute your focus, and and like, you know, you have to still figure out how to keep your confidence and self-esteem, because you're for so long, you know, when I was playing football, when I stopped playing football, I had been on a team every day from the time I was in 4th grade until the time I was 30. I was on a team every day. So like to have a full stop and then wake up one day and I don't have any more teammates. I don't have a coach. I don't have a practice to go to. I don't have to go lift weights.
Yeah.
It's like going through that transition is very challenging.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, you know, for the couples that are out there going through that transition from, you know, guys that are already in relationship, that are going through that transition in a relationship or in a marriage with family,
right?
I think everybody just kind of has to like over communicate.
Okay.
You know,
love it.
Just because, you know, there's like it's easy for men to just bottle everything up and like just try to keep on chugging along, but you have to like be able to communicate with your partner on like what you feel like you need.
Yeah.
You have to be able to ask your partner what they need. You have to find common ground, and for the wives or women in the relationship, be able to be patient with your partner. Because you know they've been living a certain lifestyle for a long time, And as they transition out of it, it's not going to be, you know, it's probably not going to be a super smooth transition.
Correct.
So patience and communication.
And prep, though, I would think prepping before the actual, like prepping for the transition, right? Because
well,
all of a sudden you're playing sports and then, you know, Friday's your last game and, you know, then you wake up on Saturday kind of like, now what? I don't have a plan. I don't know what to do. We haven't been talking about any of it.
Like the exit strategy.
Yeah, that you need to plan your exit strategy just like you plan, you know, for everything else, because you're left with a lot of unknowns, which I think you're going to have anyways. That's just part of life. But if you know, if you're able to have communication with your partner, like, you know, I'm not going to be playing football anymore. Life might look like A, B, or C.
Correct.
How are we going to deal with that if A, B, or C, you know, does come up, rather than just we're at this, you know, fork in the road now. What are we going to do?
Correct. So what was it that you were looking for in your new teammate, Shakira and Gerris, meaning both of you guys as a team?
I think it's funny. I mean, you know, Gerris he's played sports his whole life and I have never. So he went from being surrounded by people that were used to being team players to somebody who was, I mean, first of all, I was raised as an only child. Wow. And I literally have never been on a sports team. So I don't really know what it is to be a team player. You know, it's like we're on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Correct.
And when I was looking and thinking about being in a relationship, I was just looking for somebody that made me happy and somebody that I could be myself around, and someone to have fun with. It wasn't about, I hate to say I didn't think about it too much, because I did think about it a lot. Like, I would be lying to say I didn't think about who my life partner was going to be, or what I wanted in a partner. I think when I met Gerris, I was at a place where if it didn't feel good for me, I didn't want it. Like, I don't care how good looking you are. I don't care that you used to play football. I don't care.
He's very good looking.
He is a good looking guy. I mean, I lucked up, but you know, it's like, I didn't care that he won a Super Bowl. That has never, I think that it's super cool, but it wasn't something that was important to me. That wasn't one of my boxes.
Oh, that's
so
awesome. That's
all
awesome.
of my boxes had nothing to do with him being an athlete.
So I was there when Gerris first met you, you know, and I'll never forget it because it was completely awesome. I remember he and I can't remember. That was a long night. That was a long night. I'll leave some of the details out, but I just want to say it was a long night. But just from that moment to having the opportunity, thank you guys again for allowing me to officiate your wedding as well. Was amazing and beautiful.
Every step of the way.
Huh?
You've been there every step of the way.
I've been there every step of the way, you know. So like, it's such a beautiful maturation, and you know, I'm super proud of you guys because I get a chance to see you guys grow, and be the incredible couple that you are. You know, you guys been there every step of the way. You know, man. Gerris, whenever you come back and do your interview, you know, we'll be able to dig in a little bit deeper and talk about some of the stuff we want to talk about. But it's about you guys right now. And I just wanted to ask you guys, because I know some of our viewers want to know, like, how do you handle your family role right now? Because I know Stan and I, we had a chance to talk, and we were trying to figure it out. Like, okay, what's going on? What are you doing? How do you divide, you know, the work? Who's conquering what has to be done, you know, in the time with everybody being consumed by work, and, you know, you have your kids at home. Like, how have you guys managed making each other a priority? You know, can you share with our listeners some tips on a successful relationship, please?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to having a full family, we're a party of four. It's us. We have 2 daughters. Our daughters are 2, or one will be 2 next weekend, and one is 4 years old, just turned 4. And I think when it comes to the kid part and the family part, having it, it's hard because Corona has thrown a whole nother layer to the whole situation. But having at least like a family schedule in terms of like, here's what happens when we wake up in the morning. Here's what time we do this. Here's what time we do that. I think one of the biggest pieces is having like a set bedtime for the kids has been helpful. And I have to give credit to my wife on that, because she was very adamant about like having some sort of sleep schedule for the girls.
Right.
And I think like, knowing that we put the girls down between like around 7:30, 8 o'clock every night, it creates like a certain routine for them. And then knowing that they're down at a certain time, we have time for ourselves and each other. And I think that's been like one of the big pieces of it. And then also just like, when you have kids that young, they need lots of engagement. So like making sure that we are, for me, like the biggest battle has been, trying to make sure that when I'm working or doing something like that, I am focused on that and can like, go where I need to go to take care of work. But then when I'm around the kids and when I'm present with the kids, to like try to shut down work and like just be present with the kids, because trying to do both is a disaster.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to piggyback on that, is scheduling. I don't understand people that don't follow a schedule. Like, that for me is chaos. And being, it's like having a schedule, but also being able to kind of have that schedule be porous and fluid to where it's not just so rigid. It's like, oh, the girls aren't in bed exactly at 8 o'clock. My whole mood is now thrown off. Stuff happens.
Put the bottle of wine.
Yeah, it's like, the mood is gone. Forget about it. Like, you can't let that happen. You have to understand that life happens. But if you have some sort of a plan for your day, some sort of a schedule, I think that it makes life a lot easier, like a lot easier. Our daughters are taking a nap right now. That's why we're able to sit down together and do this, because typically every day they go down for their nap between 12:30 and 1. If we didn't have that, it would be crazy. I would feel crazy. Like everything would just feel more overwhelming than what it needs to be, So if you're able to kind of have some sort of a schedule, to where you know what to expect day to day, even if you're thrown off a little bit, it's a lot easier. Yeah. And also picking up some of the slack for each other. Like, since this whole COVID thing, Gerris and I have been taking turns waking up with the girls in the morning, which for me has been golden, because who don't want more sleep? Yeah. Like, especially when you have younger kids. So like, that's something that we kind of just fell into. We didn't have a conversation about that. Let's just say it started on a Monday. Gerris got up with the girls. Since he got up at 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday, I'm gonna do him a solid and wake up on Tuesday at 5, 6 in the morning so that he can then sleep in, So it's like understanding what one another needs as far as help.
Right. Well, as far as help, so I hear you say as far as help, but let's talk about as far as health, because when do you guys, as you mentioned earlier, like a good sex partner, when do you guys schedule that in? Does that have to be scheduled in, or it's just like spontaneous, like the kids are asleep, let's go, take your clothes off, what you want to do? Let's get to it.
Clothes off.
We haven't gotten to the point where we actually have to schedule that in quite yet.
Okay.
But, you know, I think that in order to kind of keep it more fun, it's a little...
Having a fluid schedule
allows
pockets of fun where the spontaneity can happen.
Yeah, you know, like the little afternoon quickie.
Is that why y'all said this interview couldn't last long? Is that why you said no?
Right.
But I mean, honestly, yeah, keeping to a schedule with your children allows for more spontaneity with your partner.
Wow.
You know, like if you know that your kids are tied up for a little bit, you don't necessarily have to be like, okay, babe, let's schedule in some sex. It's like, well, you know that the kids are asleep. So, and I know that he's downstairs working right now. And if my daughters are asleep, you know, it's like I can go downstairs and try to start a little something, or
want to be starting something.
I get it.
Hi, Mr. President.
You know, like it's true though. If you have somewhat of a schedule and somewhat of a plan, it does allow for more spontaneity with your partner rather than having to schedule stuff in. Not that you don't, you know, get tired or necessarily forget about things and you're like, oh dang, it's been a couple days. I need to connect with my man.
Right.
But yeah, like,
you know, it's interesting. You know, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. You know, it seemed like you're both very thoughtful and have collaborated quite a bit in your relationship. And as Gerris mentioned, over communication being so important. I think people misunderstand how important it is to over communicate to get to a place where you're almost reading each other's mind or what have you. So I'm going to ask this question in reverse. First, it'll be to Shakira and then to Gerris, you know, because whether it be through transition or, you know, or it being in the game, if you will, there were some certain qualities that pulled you all together, right? Now, typically people ask, oh, so what attracted you to him? But what I want to ask you, Shakira, is what do you think you've done, you know, to be attractive to Gerris, to be a helpmate, to be that great partner that you mentioned, and not just someone that fell in love? But because what I understand is there are other folks that are taking plenty of advice from folks who are less successful in this area, working towards it. So what do you think you've brought that's made this easier or made it more doable and likable to have this mate?
Well, for one, I've just always been myself. So, you know, prior to meeting Gerris, I dealt with insecurities and not feeling confident and, you know, certain situations. And I think that, you know, before I met Gerris, I just came to a point where I just wanted to be myself. And I think that for whatever reason, you know, the universe conspired to put us together. So I've tried to just still be the person that he met. But also, what can I say? Like, I've been able to allow, I think, him to grow in certain situations. You know, like when I first met Gerris, he was still in transition. Like he wasn't playing football anymore, but he had just finished his master's program at school. And it was kind of like, what am I going to do? So allowing your partner to have space to figure that out. I think that you know, it's like you kind of have to get dressed and get cute sometimes still. So especially right now, you know, I'm like, I put on a little makeup today. I haven't been dressed in a while. So that's something that I still get insecure about. You know, it's because it's like, well, we've been in the house for weeks. I've been in sweatpants. I wake up, my hair looks crazy. Like, how am I going to still stay attractive to my, you know, for my partner? And I think that's just something that you always have to do, but you need to take care of yourself. So like, rather than getting wrapped up in the relationship, if you're still making sure that you as a person are doing something that makes you happy, even if it's, you know, like I haven't had a job outside of the home for the last 4 years. I've been home with our kids since my daughter was born. And I've recently have been trying to find things that still spark joy for me. And I think when you find something like that, or even are in search of something like that, you're still attractive to your partner because they see that you're, you know, like still trying to work on yourself. Like you're
keeping the intimacy there, keeping the spark there, keeping the fire there. Exactly.
Yeah, and just it doesn't matter who you are. Like it's attractive to people when you're going after things that you enjoy, you know, so because that brings you joy. So I know that it makes Gerris feel good when I feel good outside of like him making me feel good.
What? Brilliant answer. I see what, you know, we're going to do an interview with just you. Okay. Just you, Gerris. You get bounced. That's dope. Cool. So really quick question for you, Gerris. You know, I know earlier, you know, Shakira mentioned that it was cool that you won a Super Bowl, but it wasn't a big deal. You know, it wasn't what defined you all's relationship or how she cared for you. Like how did, you know, because you mentioned the word confidence and gaining and, you know, and developing those things on and off the field. But how did that resonate with you that, you know, what you did for a living, let's say, didn't define the love or the like in the relationship?
That was kind of easy for me in a way because I think I was a different type of athlete anyway. Like I wasn't the type of person that grew up like in elementary school. Like my dream is to be in the NFL. You know, it kind of just unfolded for me, and so it's like I was never super. Even though I had been an athlete my whole life, the way that I was raised by my mother and the way that my mentality was growing up, I didn't like have myself locked into the box of being an athlete, you know. So it's like I know a lot of people probably like don't really when you're hyper focused on becoming a professional athlete and everything that goes with that, I think it made the transition a little bit easier for me because I never really wanted to be labeled as just an athlete, you know. So like once I had the chance to transition out of that, you know, I would have plenty of conversations or meet plenty of people, and my past would never come up. You know, like I wouldn't lead with my athletic resume. You know, so it was like it wasn't so challenging for me. I think kind of like because of my personality and who I am.
Gotcha.
Yeah, amazing. You mentioned conversations, right? And you know, how long have y'all been married now? How long have y'all been together? I'll say together since the magic happened.
It'll be 5 years in November.
5 years married in November. So yeah, 5 years married in November. But like maybe like we were together a little over 6 years. Our relationship moved very fast.
Hey, dude.
I saw it. I was there.
When you know, you know. That's all that is.
No.
You people watching.
I saw it all.
So being there now, 6 years later, two beautiful girls later and so forth, is there any advice that you all as a couple would give the younger yous, you know, as you all kind of embarked on this, or that some advice that those younger couples, you know, might find fruitful, but any advice you'd give to the younger version of you all 6 years ago as you moved through?
Yeah, I would, speaking of like just the whole transition piece with relationships and just relationships in general, and I think Shakira kind of touched on it a little while ago, is just like always try to be diligent in working on yourself, you know, because if you take care of yourself and if you are trying to work on your issues, you'll be a better partner to someone else.
And a better parent.
And a better parent. So like continue to like evaluate yourself and understand where you can improve and where you can make yourself a better person, and then you'll be able to better take care of a spouse and a family. And then also just, you know, try to be as open-minded as possible, as try to be as flexible as possible. Because as things, you know, the only constant is change, you know? So like as things change, if you're flexible in your mindset and flexible in like the way that you spend your time, and your thought process, I think it makes all those transitions a little bit easier.
Beautiful. How do you work on yourself? You mentioned that, but like, how do you really work on yourself? That's like, but you work on yourself, but like, what does that mean? Working out, like?
I mean, I think it's like figuring out ways to. Part of it, I think, is just spending time with yourself.
Back to scheduling. Seriously though, when you're a parent, you have to now schedule your alone time. I mean, for me, especially as being a mother, no one is going to be like, oh, you know what? You look like you're a little tired. Why don't you go ahead and take a couple of hours for yourself? That doesn't happen. Your kids aren't thinking about it at all, especially at 2 and 4. And a lot of times your husband isn't thinking about it either. So you have to step away from thinking that it's selfish, whether you are the mom or the dad. You have to step away from thinking that it's selfish for spending time by yourself, like literally scheduling time away. I know that Gerris sometimes would wake up earlier in the morning than all of us so he could get a meditation in. Before the Rona hit, you know, I was able to, Gerris would wake up with the girls a couple times a week so that I could go to my workout class early in the morning. So it's like I at least had that hour to myself to be able to do stuff, because you could easily get caught up, you know, being a parent, you could easily get caught up in not ever having time alone, and then you're frazzled, it doesn't work. Like you have to schedule time to do stuff for yourself. And just because you're married it's like you still are a whole person, you know what I mean, outside of your marriage. So you have to nurture that, and also you have to nurture your relationship. Just because you're married and now have children doesn't mean that you got married, so it's like, oh, the relationship is we're locked in. It's right. That part is taken care of. Like right. That, it doesn't work like that. You still have to work at your relationship just as hard, if not harder, when you're married than you did, than you did before, because you were with your husband before you had children. You knew, you knew this person before you created these other people. So,
right.
But here's the thing, Shakira. Like, listen, everyone knows that having kids is easy, right? You have someone, you get with someone, maybe they have money, maybe they don't, maybe they play professional sport, but now I had this person, you have kids, and it's easy, right? You have them, they'll love you, you'll love them. What's one of the biggest misconceptions you think there are for these potential moms out there? Like, it'll be a piece of cake. Like,
I mean, I was one of those moms. I remember discussing having children with Gerris before, and one of his concerns was, like, we're not going to be able to just get up and go to the beach when we want to, or we're not just going to get up and be able to do anything that we want to do because we're now going to have to think about having this kid. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, we just put the kid in the backpack, like put the kid in the pack and still go to the beach, right? And it's like, it's different. It doesn't work like that. And I'm not sure that that's something that you can grasp and have a full understanding of until you actually have children. Because you want for things to stay the same. You want to be able to have just as much time with your partner. You want to be able to do all of the fun things. And not that you're not able to do that with children, but it's a lot different, and you don't get that until the kids are here, you know, and then you're like, oh, well, this ain't fun at all.
Right. Like, leave the baby over there while we go frolic in the ocean at the beach. Like,
I mean, people have the majestic ideas of what being a mom is, and it's like
Thank you for
it's not like that all the time. And I really enjoy being a mother. Like, I dig it. I love my kids. I'm like, I feel super powerful, and you know, like, I'm dope. I'm a mom, I'm a wife. Like, I got this mom thing hands down. But yeah, no, it's not. It ain't
Thank
like
you
that all the time.
Thank you for being such. Oh, go ahead, Gerris. Yeah, please.
Yeah, before we moved on, I just wanted to go back to what you asked before about, or what PJ mentioned, like, how do you work on yourself? And I think the other ways we touched on a few things. I think the other ways, though, is I think you have to continue to learn. You know, whatever that means and whatever that looks like. Whether it's reading, whether it's taking classes, whether it's
surrounding yourself around people that are
being around people that are professionals in what you want to do, or you know, other peers in whatever industry you're in, like just networking, whatever, you know, continuing to build your own knowledge is one way that you work on yourself. And then another piece I think that's been helpful for me, or for us, I would say, is with therapy. To be open to potentially seeing a therapist, or you know, they have you could text message a therapist nowadays, or you know, all the different apps and stuff. But to be open to like working through any issues that you have personally, past traumas or things of that nature, to take the time to yourself to address those and work through those is other ways I think that you can work on improving yourself.
That's beautiful.
Thank you both, man. Appreciate you coming back.
We looks like we have some audience, man. We got Omar Billy said, "Hey D, Gordon Clean Scale." But Labelise Padilla, she has a question for Miss Shakira. She said, "As a spouse, how do you not lose yourself and the things that spark joy in your life? It's tough when sometimes you feel like your life revolves around the kids and husband. What are some practices that you do to stay true to you?"
Well, I think that people have an unrealistic idea of what being a wife and mother is. Your life is not supposed to revolve around your husband or your children.
Right.
You know, like, again, scheduling time to have to yourself is, I think, your, like, the biggest tool, best tool that you have in your tool belt is being able to do that and ridding yourself of the guilt. Because I know as a mother, we deal with a lot of mom guilt. Like, if I'm gone for too long, are the kids going to be crazy when I come home, or are they going to be mad at me? Or if I want to go have a night with my girls, is my husband going to be like looking at me crazy? Or, you know, and just being able to kind of find the confidence that you need to be able to do that. And the only way that I think you're able to do that is if you actually do it. You know, I didn't really, that's something that I still struggle with, because I'm home with my girls all the time, especially right now during this Rona situation. Prior to this happening, I was feeling like I needed a break from everybody. I don't have as much alone time as, I rarely have time alone. So, you know, especially right now, there isn't really any alone. I haven't, you know, it's like you have to make sure to schedule. It's harder to do right now during the pandemic because there's not as many places to go, not, you know, as much things to do. But the other night, you know, it's like I let Gerris know, like, I'm going to be going on a walk with my girlfriend at 7:30. And I did that. and it feels good to get away from your family. And I think that that's okay. You know, I think, again, back to scheduling, like you have to schedule, you have to
but it takes the partnership too, because you know, like when she said she was going on her walk, she was gone for about 3 hours.
Oh, plot twist, the real story.
so like, you know, some women have partners that are as flexible as I am. Some partners, some women might have come home and not had a very happy husband with their wife going on a 3-hour walk. So, you know, it wasn't
really 3 hours.
It takes
2 hours and 45 minutes. She rounds down. Is that what it is?
2 hours.
She's a rounder.
50 minutes.
She is a rounder. I know. I'm good. I'm that good. She was gonna round down. No, it was 2 hours and 43 minutes. I walked in the door with 18 seconds.
Well, I mean, I am very fortunate to have a partner who is able to take on some of the slack. I don't know what it's like to be in a relationship with someone that isn't willing to do that. So that's like a whole different topic and conversation. You know, if you're with someone that you're not able to step out for a couple hours, you know, and come back home and then be okay, then yeah, it might feel a lot different. So I'm super fortunate to where if I do want to go on a walk, or if I do need to do something for myself, Gerris has been able to, you know, to step in. And I have to say, I don't do that all of the time, but especially after having my second kid, you need that. Everyone needs time away from their kids. I don't care what people say, like being a parent is awesome, but you still need time away from your children. Like, it's just, there's no, oh my gosh, I love my kids are amazing. It's like, yeah, they're great a lot of the time, but it's very challenging being a parent. Like,
it's as difficult as it is awesome.
Yeah, it's the most, like, Gerris's boss is like, it's the most one-sided, like, selfish, loving relationship you will ever have, you know, because your kids just kind of take from you until they're adults and they learn, like, oh, dang, you know, I got to give my parents some slack, or until they become parents themselves and they're like, oh, wow, this is what, you know, went into bringing me up. Like, I'm sorry, Mom, or I'm sorry, Dad. You know, like, they don't get that.
It's that unconditional love. That's it.
Absolutely amazing.
So,
I'll go ahead, please.
No, I was just gonna say we're about to gear down, but I wanted to know what are the questions that you have, Stan?
Yeah, you know, as we close out, are there any, let's say, just parting words, thoughts, or advice that you would give to someone that's in the exact predicament or situation that you all were in? Because ultimately it could be like, hey, I want to help everyone, right? Yes, that happens, but there's certainly a significant number of people who are right where you all are, or right where you all were. Any parting words or thoughts for them as we close out?
Man, I think it always comes back to communication.
Communication and taking time with one another.
Be comfortable be comfortable letting your partner know what you need, and then be comfortable receiving what your partner needs, and being flexible enough to, like, meet them halfway and meet each other. Try to meet each other with some middle ground, so that both sides feel cared for and attended to. And I think, like, real quick, one thing I think that we struggle with initially, and I'm sure other parents struggle with, is like being able to trust your kids with other people. You know, which is a big challenge, even more so now with COVID-19. But, like, you know, being able to take the time to, if you don't have family members that you trust, then trying to trust, you know, an outside babysitter. You know, it's easier said than done, but, like, being able to trust your kids with other people, because sometimes your kids need a break from you also. You know, like they like I know our girls enjoy hanging out with their cousins and their aunties and, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, being able to be comfortable and confident enough and like put the time in to find people that you trust with your kids so that you can have some time to work on yourselves and that so that you guys can get a break.
Man, that's tremendous advice. And that thought again that they also need a break from you too, and then being willing to be compassionate and kind of the give and take, and you know, to be willing to share with your partner to meet them halfway. Brilliant. Prince, any final thoughts, questions?
Yes. So I like to get serious for a moment, and this is always like the part of the show that I really like is I always ask everyone this is for you guys as a couple, if you knew that there would possibly be a fatal passing by you guys, as knock on wood, and we don't want any of that to happen for anybody, what would be some of the advice that you would give your girls at this moment in time? Because that's something that we don't talk about, and a lot of times we are afraid to speak about someone passing. But you know, once a great idol passed, Kobe Bryant, and his family members and the people that were on the helicopter, you know, it was just like, man, what do you tell your children that you're leaving behind, or your spouse that you're leaving behind? Like, what would you tell them?
Well, hopefully our kids will be grown when it is time for us to go, so we don't have to have those types of conversations. But both Gerris and I lost our mothers when we were younger adults. So I think if there was one thing that I would tell my children, you know, like whether if one of us was going to be no longer be here or not, is I would like to teach them to be independent.
And what does that look like to you when you say like teach them to be independent? What is your?
I mean, our kids are 4 and 2, so I'm still fairly new into motherhood, and I can't expect my 4-year-old to understand, you know, what death is, or what it even is to be independent.
But if you had to write her a letter?
If I had to write my daughter a letter, I would tell her to be able to just go for whatever it is that she wants to do and to pursue what makes her happy. And to take care of herself. And that is, you know, eating properly, making sure that you're exercising regularly, checking in with whatever, like with your spirituality, you know, whether you're religious or not. It's a lot easier, I believe, to get lost if you don't have something that you believe in, some sort of a higher power. So I would hope to teach, you know, for my daughters to be able to, know that they're going to be okay, always, no matter whatever situation is thrown their way. There's always a silver lining, even in the death of a parent. And to focus on the positives and being grateful for every single situation, whether it be negative or positive. So, you know,
Brilliant, thank you.
I wouldn't want to say be thankful that, you know, your father passed away, or be thankful that I passed away, but there is, I truly believe that there is always something good, even if it's like the smallest thing in every situation, like even in negative situations. And I try to make a practice of saying thank you for all of it, because there's a lesson somewhere, even if it hurts your heart like completely if you're torn down, if you feel like it's the end of the world, you know what I'm saying? Like once you start figuring out how to say thank you for those things, the pain doesn't last as long.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Gerris, do you have one quick thing to say?
I don't say nothing quick either. I be talking.
I'm sorry, did I put an emphasis on quick?
I can't help it. I mean, I be spitting so much real that like.
I mean, why not? Why not? Why not? They ask you to serve, you gotta serve. That's all that is.
If I had to give my daughters one quick nugget, I would tell them, this is the one thing that my dad always told me when I was super young. So what I would tell my young daughters is, don't let anybody take advantage of you.
Brilliant advice. Brilliant advice.
Oh, this is a good one, babe.
See, hey, he don't say much.
You see how long her answer was? You see how long mine was? That's why we work out.
Balance.
Yin and the yang, friend. See what y'all doing there.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Prince, any final things to say before we get out of here?
That was my final things. I just want to tell you guys, I love you guys so much. You know, I've always been a part of your life, and I'm always going to be a part of your life. Thank you for being a part of mine and my family. We love you guys. Thanks for the support. Keep being incredible. Keep being the amazing people that you are. And we got more great life to live. And also, we're supposed to be going on that trip to Yosemite, right?
They say they're starting to open Yosemite back up.
I'm about to rent an RV, man, whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, we're going to drive up from San Diego all the way over there because it don't make no sense for y'all to come down to San Diego, then we drive back.
Yo, thank you so very much. We're so fortunate and blessed to have both Gerris and Shakira here to drop some knowledge on it. Hopefully you all will do this again sometime. Is that possible?
Sure.
You heard me. I like to talk. So, yeah.
Yeah, we gonna do this again. All right, Gerris, you may or may not be invited. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you so very much for being here, spending time with us. Yeah, folks, continue to stay tuned because this is a gateway to understanding and learning a better version of you all, whether it's being an individual, whether it's being a couple, married, involved. This is how we learn to be better versions of ourselves each and every single day. So continue to stay with us as we help others find their game beyond the game. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.
Thank you, guys. Love you guys. Have a good one.
Love you.